From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Friday morning. It's 5:30. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Happy to see you starting your day with us.
And I'm Ed McIntosh as we're off and rolling on really a pretty comfortable day for today. We will have some smoky haze, but we've got big changes in the weather day by day as we start getting through the next several days. At 56 at the airport right now in Billings, we have a little southwest breeze. Statewide, temperatures are at 43 in Butte, 44 in Kalispell. And if that seems cool, by the time we get into Monday, that might be the daytime highs for some of the area. The temperatures overall in southern Montana and northern Wyoming have held up pretty well despite some smoky haze. We do have some air quality issues. Right now in Billings, there's a little bit of that haze around, but certainly unhealthy air through areas of southeast Montana where an air quality alert is now into effect for Powder River County, extending over to southern Rosebud County, Bighorn County, Montana, and we'll continue to watch the influence of some of those fires through the day. Temperatures today are starting off in southern Montana, northern Wyoming, mainly into the 40s to mid 50s. Regionally, we'll see a nice warm up into the afternoon, above average readings with the sunshine, upper 80s to around 90. But big changes from record highs to rain and snow by Labor Day, and we'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes.
Isn't Labor Day one of those days that usually gets some rough weather? Am I thinking of another holiday?
No, you're right.
Those Monday holidays always.
We always talk about Memorial Day, you're never quite sure, and then Labor Day, same thing, you know, so the last long weekend of summer, and we're going to go from backcountry weather to get out of here kind of weather.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be listening for the details. In the meantime, I'll get on to the news.
Okay,
Thanks, Ed.
thanks.
Our top story this morning, firefighters are hard at work as large wildfires continue to spread across our region. In Garfield County, the Huff Fire has grown to nearly 47,000 acres. Crews are working to secure a perimeter around the fire that's burning northeast of Jordan. No homes have been lost. Officials say it's now 15% contained. In Muscle County, officials estimate the Bobcat Fire has burned over 20,000 acres and possibly some structures. Firefighters were challenged by heavy winds as the flames approached the Yellowstone County line this morning, and there's new evacuation orders in place. On Thursday afternoon, residents in the Hidden Springs subdivision were told to leave. In Bighorn County, evacuation orders have been lifted for residents living near Busby. However, the Sarpy Fire exploded to 48,000 acres on Thursday. No structures were lost or are threatened this morning, even as the fire approached multiple homes along Highway 212. Officials say it was a great team effort between private citizens and firefighters to save the houses. Crews from Idaho and Washington have joined locals in the firefighting efforts. And 3 separate fires, all over 10,000 acres, are raging in Rosebud County. After being evacuated on Wednesday, Ashland residents were allowed to return home yesterday afternoon. The Snyder Fire has taken out almost 32,000 acres of land, and the oil and rice fires burned a combined 22,000 acres so far. Here in Billings, the residents of a West End home are okay after flames engulfed their house and destroyed it. Just after 5:30 on Thursday evening, firefighters responded to 1687 Norwood Lane. They say the fire started in an attached garage and quickly spread through the house, extending through the attic to the roof. A neighbor noticed the fire early on and alerted the residents, who all made it out safely. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, and firefighters were actually called back to the home early this morning after the fire flared back up with flames seen coming from the home's roof. In other news this morning, for the first time, more than 2,000 Montanans are infected with COVID-19. The state announced 189 new cases on Thursday. In Yellowstone County, 2 more people died. A man in his 70s and a man in his 90s brings the total number of deaths in Montana to 112. Some help is on the way for Montana businesses affected by the pandemic. At a press conference yesterday, Governor Steve Bullock introduced the Montana Working Capital Program. It allows Montana businesses to take out a new loan up to $500,000, with 35% of it granted through coronavirus relief funds. The program opens up for applications next Tuesday and will be run by the Board of Investments in partnership with Montana banks and credit unions. Here in Yellowstone County, local health leaders are officially relaxing rules for local sporting events and nursing homes. Visitors will be allowed outdoor visits at nursing homes if there are no active cases at the facility. Yesterday, Health Officer John Felton confirmed school districts will now set their own spectator policies. They won't require county approval, but Felton says he'll give guidance and input and hopes everyone stays safe.
Anytime people gather, it makes me nervous. I am taking people at their word that we've heard from. I've heard from many family members that they will do everything they can, masking, distancing, to keep their children safe and to keep each other safe. I'm going to take them at their word that they will do that.
And the following numbers could add to Felton's concerns. In the last week, Yellowstone County averaged almost 42 cases per day. Right now, 61 children under 10 years old and 169 between 10 and 19 have the virus. The CDC has told states to prepare for a COVID vaccine by November, but some doctors running clinical trials say that's not likely. Dr. Larry Corey is in charge of a trial in Seattle and says it was designed for a 7-month endpoint. The trial started in mid-July, which would mean a vaccine by February. However, Corey does say November isn't totally impossible, just unlikely. Doctors also say having states prepared for who will get priority isn't a bad thing. Now we go to Bozeman, where the city's mayor is in hot water after new allegations show he intimidated and bullied city staff. Emails were made public showing Chris Mell interfered with the administration of the city and was hostile towards the interim city manager. The mayor admitted to MTN he needs to address what he called his direct style of communication. One Bozeman commissioner even suggested the mayor's actions led to the resignation of the former city manager. Some allege Mell has a pattern of mistreating women on his staff, a claim he denies.
I ask hard questions of everyone, whether it's the finance director or the public works director or the parks director. If there's something important, that's how I would do it.
Bozeman commissioners will hold a public meeting next week to review and discuss the reports. And now in national news, police have killed the suspect accused in the fatal shooting of a President Trump supporter in Portland last weekend. CBS's Laura Podesta has details and examined an interview with the suspect where he explained his actions.
Speaking to Vice News in what may be his final interview, Michael Forrest Reinell admits to killing a supporter of President Trump this weekend, but insists he did it in self-defense.
I had a choice. I could have sat there and watched them kill a friend of mine of color, but I wasn't going to do that.
The 48-year-old claims his life was being threatened by counter-protesters who were caravanning through Portland.
Had I not acted, I am confident that my friend and I'm sure I would have been killed.
Police say Reinell shot and killed Aaron J. Danielson, a supporter of the right-wing Patriot Prayer Group, Saturday night. Then last night, 5 days later, Reinell was killed by law enforcement agents as they tried to arrest him more than 100 miles north of Portland in Lacey, Washington.
There was a confrontation between the officers that were on scene and the subject. The information that we have at this time is that the subject was armed. There was shots that were fired into the vehicle, and the subject fled from the vehicle, at which time there was additional shots that were fired.
Reinell had described himself as 100% anti-fascist. He also suggested the tactics of counter-protesters amounted to warfare and says he'd been shot at one protest and cited for having a gun at another. He'd been a regular presence at anti-racism demonstrations in Portland, which have been ongoing since the death of George Floyd in May. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
And with unruly demonstrations in Portland nearing the 100-day mark, Oregon Governor Kate Brown called for an end to the violence. The mayor of Rochester, New York, has suspended 7 officers in connection with the death of a black man who appeared to be suffering from mental distress while being arrested. 41-year-old Daniel Prude later died. The incident happened more than 5 months ago, but body cam video of his arrest was just released on Wednesday. Prude was confirmed to have PCP in his system at the time. Protests have been gaining steam in Rochester since the video was released. The federal government is set to run out of funding at the end of the month, but a government shutdown has been dodged for now. Sources say House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin have reached an informal deal to avoid one. They've agreed to extend government funding at the same level it's currently operating at. More details on the agreement are expected to be released soon. The two sides still remain stalled on the next COVID relief package. In campaign news, the election is less than 2 months away and the race for president is heating up. Both candidates were in swing states yesterday. President Trump was in Pennsylvania and Democrat Joe Biden spoke in Wisconsin. CBS's Laura Podesta has been following both campaigns and brings us the latest.
And we are going to win 4 more years in the White House.
President Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden campaigned in key battleground states yesterday.
Win or lose, I'm going to go down fighting. I'm going to go down fighting for racial equality.
Rallying in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, Mr. Trump suggested for the second time this week to vote twice.
Sign your mail-in ballot, okay? You sign it and send it in, and then you have to follow it. And if on election day or early voting, that is not tabulated and counted, you go vote.
On his way back to Washington, the president rejected a new article in The Atlantic. It claims in 2018 he canceled a visit to an American war cemetery in France because he feared his hair would become disheveled in the rain. He also referred to the dead soldiers as losers and suckers.
And I would be willing to swear on anything that I never said that about our fallen heroes. There is nobody that respects them more.
Meanwhile, Biden spent the day in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the site of recent protests following the police shooting of Jacob Blake.
So regardless how angry you are, if you loot or you burn, you should be held accountable as someone who does anything else.
The former vice president spoke on the phone with Blake, who's partially paralyzed after being shot in the back.
He talked about how nothing was going to defeat him.
Biden is expected to deliver remarks on the economy later today. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Parts of the Atlantic article has also been confirmed by the Associated Press, but the Trump campaign put out a list of staffers that refute the claims. It also says the Secret Service made the call to cancel the cemetery trip because of bad weather. Across the world, a rescue team in Beirut is moving rubble in an attempt to locate a potential survivor from last month's blast. Possible signs of life were discovered under rubble. The search operation resumed after being suspended Thursday night for safety concerns. It's been a month since the explosion at the port claimed at least 180 lives, wounded thousands of others, and caused destruction across the city. And before we take a break, gas prices this Labor Day weekend are set to be the lowest since 2004. That's according to Gas Buddy. The company predicts a national average of $2.19 per gallon, down nearly 37 cents from last year. That's the lowest price Labor Day since 2004's $1.82 per gallon average.